Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrienne Joy, and I am based in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne in Australia. Just imagine for a moment you're driving through the chaos of your day when the phone rings. Ray, get over here quick. We've had to call an ambulance for Eve. Laser focus, screeching of wheels. Nothing will stop me from reaching my daughter. My mind is racing. What has happened? By the time I arrive, I'm bracing myself for impact. But nothing, and I mean nothing, can prepare you for seeing your child on a stretcher, catatonic. Something inside me broke. I was terrified, I was lost, and I was filled with so much rage. Rage at her choices. She was drowning and I was going down with her. But sometimes it's in those moments of desperation we find exactly the answer that we need. Mine came as advice. Andrienne, she's bracing herself for your anger. But if you lead with that, you will lose her. Walk in with a heart full of love. Let her feel that nothing she's done can change your place by her side. So that's what I did. It was raw and it was vulnerable. And as we sat on that bed and held each other, something new began to awaken inside of me. Because once I was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. And I think possibly for the first time, I truly saw her pain. I saw her quiet suffering, her silent cries for help. The scars, the bottles of vodka, the nights when her voice would call out from a distance, "Mum, I need you. Mum, I'm sorry." And I'd race off to her room, praying I was wrong. But too often I found her splayed on the bed, semi-conscious. No, 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 this is not happening. But then life reminded me other children still needed me too. Kids who are happy, kids who are healthy, pushing boundaries, needing my attention. And right there in the middle of ordinary chaos, I realized I had a choice. I had a choice. I could keep drowning in the darkness. That's a choice. Or I could remember who I was before the storm. So I made a decision, a line in the sand moment, to teach myself joy again. One laugh, one breath, one moment at a time. And that choice has changed everything. Because joy isn't found in the absence of pain. It is born through it. I'd been living a story written by fear and reaction. And then I realized I was the author. So if I'm the author, I can pick up the pen. Trembling at first, but word by word and breath by breath, I began to write a new story, to change my voice. And with each small spark of laughter, I felt something shift. Joy wasn't somewhere far away. It could exist right here, even in the rubble. And here's the miracle. When I gave myself permission to laugh again, to laugh at myself most of all, I unknowingly gave Eve permission also. And bit by bit, laughter became part of her healing. It gave her strength to find her own way through the darkness and back home to herself. Maybe, just maybe that's where it all begins. Not in chasing happiness, but in learning to laugh again, to breathe again, to remember who we are beneath the weight of it all. And from there, from that place, we begin the practice of joy. And so I'd like to share with you three things, three areas to focus on if joy is something that you would like to practice more of. The first step is to seek laughter, because even one tiny spark can lift the heaviness and reconnect you to the light inside. And then bring back play. Play, life gets too serious sometimes deadly serious. But joy thrives when we let ourselves be light again. Gamify your day. Spot the silly, the unexpected, the moments that make you smile. Laugh at yourself. It's a superpower. And last but not least is to be fully present. In many ways, I think this one is the most important one of all, the most powerful. Being fully present, because connection, it's not always easy. Sometimes it's messy, it's hard, and sometimes all too real. But being present, and I mean truly present, that's where the transformation begins. That's where joy takes root. And this is only the beginning. Step by step, moment by moment, breathing. And then later in November, thanks to Gertrude, I'll be sharing more detail about exactly how we walked through this season, what helped us, and how you can find your way back to joy too, no matter what you've been through. But for today, let it begin here. Remember to laugh, to play, and to be present. Each and every moment, choose joy, one breath at a time.
Wow, Andrienne, what an incredible story. It's interesting how sometimes we forget that joy is a choice and that it comes from us, regardless of, what you're going through every single day. Now, you mentioned looking into the mirror one day and not recognizing yourself. What triggered that? Where did you realize that, okay, now I'm really off track?
Do you know, I think that there'd been signs around all over the place. There's only so long that you can bury yourself for. There's only so long that you can ignore your own silent screams. And I think for me, I was in my 40s and my youngest daughter was she was at school, and it was that time in our world where the government was saying it's time to work, mums. And I thought, oh, what do I want to do? Who do I want to be? Who am I? And that question was boiling around under the surface. And I don't know, Gertrude, I think there was so many different elements going on, but I woke up one morning and I looked at myself in the mirror and I did not know who I was. I couldn't answer these questions, and that was terrifying. It was terrifying.
Yeah, that would be a very, very scary experience. So how did your background in faith shape or challenge the way that you handled your daughter's journey?
For me, one of the things I think is my superpower, besides now the bringing laughter into everything, because that's definitely become a big part of my life. But I've always been a person who reaches out to my community, and so I just chose a few trusting people I could trust that I would reach out to and share what was going, and leaning on them. That's how I ended up with that beautiful bit of advice about going in with love, with a heart full of love. Because he was right. If I had have gone in all fire and brimstone and wanting to do discipline parent, like my fear told me to go into ultra protection mode. If I had gone in that way, I would have lost her because her defenses were all up. But the fact that I went in with love, and I guess the biggest part of it has been learning to love myself as well through all of this. I'm not sure if I answered the question, but that's the tangent I went off on.
So many parents feel helpless when their child faces self-harm or identity issues. What was the turning point for you?
I just had to take myself out of the equation. We were also blessed with having a gorgeous child who was aware of her own self. There was a point in time before she hit her teens when she actually said to us, Mum and Dad, I know that when I get to a teenager, I'm probably going to go in on myself and I'm not going to be able to talk to you guys like I can now. So I'm just letting you know that I love you, and, I will come back out the other end. And I remember looking at her in that moment, just being absolutely astonished. But she was right, of course. And I think that was the blessing of all. She trusted us enough to ask her not to ask too much of us, that we loved her and we wanted to be there for her, but just give us time. And she had the grace to give us that time as well. So I think it was the transparency and the honesty and the love, that kept us all through that.
You spoke about choosing love over control, wrapping your daughter in your arms instead of reacting in fear. What changed in that moment?
That moment when I walked in and wrapped her up in love instead of, I walked into that room, and this was in the aftermath. It's the next day she's recovered from that stupor, that catatonic state. And yeah, I could see all over her that she was locking herself inside a room, waiting for the onslaught. And so she totally didn't expect me to come and grab her in my arms and just say, I'm so sorry that you're going through this. I really want to make it all go away, but I can't. And there's one part of me that wants to go around this room and just get rid of everything in sight. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be here with you and love you as much as I can. And it's been an up and down ride. I've got it wrong lots of times, but because love was the anchor, love was the center, I just kept coming back to that and being vulnerable and honest as I could with what was going on inside of me without inflicting that on her.
Yeah.
And we managed to find a way to work together in that.
That's beautiful. Now, you studied counseling, NLP, and breathwork. How did these practices help you move from survival to self-awareness?
I honestly, Gertrude, you can't, like, when you hear a story, it sounds like it's an overnight thing, but it's really not. There's definitely all those layers that I had been going through, in the time leading up. I've learned about narrative therapies and the story that I had going on in my life, for all those years. And I've gone around and talked to my children and tried to make deeper connections with them through that knowledge, and understanding the way, the mind wants to see what it wants to see, and being able to develop those self-reflection tools. And honestly, I was in the best, in the most supported time in my entire life, but having gone through all those things. And the breath work really helped me to learn how to touch into the core of the emotion in my body. I knew that it was being held in here. So while I was being able to hold space for Eve when I was with her, when I was away from her, that's when I would let my mess come out. I would be, when I was by myself, screaming and crying and just getting angry at God, angry at myself, angry at her dad, angry at her, angry, like seeing all of the things that I had missed. And then reminding myself, Andrienne, it's really stupid to blame. Especially, it's just not going to get us anywhere, but still allowing myself that space to recognize it and to see it, and then to start going through the process of learning. What am I needing to learn through this? What is my journey trying to show me? Where am I going? And as a result of that, I've just developed this very strong faith in myself when I am. And I don't need to add any other title on to that. I am. I just am. I am me, sometimes in the messed up, sometimes in the brilliant, sometimes in the vulnerable, sometimes in the little girl. I am everything, and I am nothing, and I am so much more than what I could possibly imagine. And I believe that for my children and for you and for everybody else as well. So
it's almost as if you have to remember that you did what you did with the knowledge that you had at that time, and learning to forgive yourself has got to be a very big part of that, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And having compassion and realizing, like, half of the time I was scrabbling just to keep up. I would go in and mess up and scrabble and make it right, and then take that learning and go a bit further, and then fall on my face and scrabble, and it was just but each time you get stronger and wiser.
That's challenging. Now, what does Ignite Her Heart mean to you personally, and how does it serve other mothers?
So Ignite Her Heart is really giving that map of other women being able to go through this process faster and with all of that, without all of the massive journey that I've had to go through. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to change that journey for anything in the world. Everything that I've experienced has made me who I am now. But I know that when I was going through my training through the counselling and then the NLP, and then I found the breath work, each time I was going along, I was just thinking to myself, it's too much in the head, it's too much in the head, it's too much in the head. I've got to go deeper. I'd never heard of breath work before. But finally, when I found it, I understood. I knew that I had found what I was looking for, because it's coming into the body. And this is really the key component is understanding what's happening here in the head, sure, but until you come down into the body and you really allow yourself to fully experience the emotions that you've needed to experience the whole time, we will keep repeating the same things over and over again. So Ignite Her is helping women to just go really straight to the core of it, gently,
Yes.
progressively, but we're going. We're going to feel, and we're going to heal, and we're going to release, and then let that flame rise up, so that it's like the phoenix up out of the ashes, dying to the old and rising up in the new.
I love that. So, how did you navigate judgment from both society and the faith communities during this time?
I actually got very protective of who I shared and how much I shared with. Sometimes I made a mistake and shared it with somebody who couldn't hold it. But through that, I had to understand as well, I've got to separate myself from that. That's them, and they're going through their thing. And, we're having to learn in ways that other people are not having to face. And I wouldn't wish this on
anyone. Yes.
No.
You wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy.
No. So I was holding that space. I wouldn't say that I was never judgy. I think that we can't help but judge. We do it all the time. We're judging our situation and our circumstances with every moment that we're stepping into something. And when it's unfamiliar, the more judgment that we have, we're judging if it's safe for me to be in that space. And so, it's just about being aware, really recognizing when your defenses are arcing up and whether or not they're going to be helpful or unhelpful in that situation.
Now, you mentioned that there's a lack of safe spaces for parents facing gender crisis issues. What do you believe needs to change?
I know that my story and Eve's story is not going to be everybody's story, but I for me, and there's a lot of community support around what she's going through. Because, society is recognizing that kids struggle with their gender identity around that age. Let's see if we can support them as best we can. But what I found was severely lacking was compassion for the parents.
Right.
And I was going through a process of grieving the loss of the daughter that I had known and loved since the moment she came into the world, since before she came into the world. And I celebrated my daughter. So when I'm suddenly faced with the realization that my daughter does not want to be my daughter anymore, she wants to be my son. And on the one hand, I want to be able to love him, because that's what Eve became for a while, was to learn how to love him and who he was presenting himself to be, and to embrace that journey that we were being asked to walk out. At the same time, I was desperate to find other people who were going through something similar and who understood that I was struggling. I
Yeah.
had no idea. It came from out of
Nowhere.
nowhere. There was, and so as a place where parents can go and have help to work out how to do this. How do I actually do this? How do I be angry and in loving at the same time? How do I
Mhm.
hold that duality within me once there? And it's a raw honesty that's not always publicly acceptable,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
became my reality. I needed to grieve. I needed somewhere safe to get angry. I needed somewhere safe to get messy. And what I found was a judgment and a shutting down. You're not allowed to be that way. You've just got
Yeah.
to put all that aside because that's what's happening here. So basically snap out of it, wake up. you gotta just do this. And it was too big a leap for me to make. I needed help. And it just
So,
wasn't
how
there.
do you support other mothers who are in finding calm in the storm of their children's transformation?
Compassion and listening.
Mm.
It's absolutely okay to feel whatever it is that you want to feel. And until you feel it, you're not going to be able to really reconcile it and release it.
Yeah.
It'll roller coast you otherwise. And yeah. So yeah, for me, that's one of the reasons behind Ignite Her as well. But that's been a passion of mine for a long time, to bring that into the arena. But within that space, once you learn to go in and express your what's going on for you in the body and in your emotions, and when you're understanding where it's coming from in the background, that's empowering in all life areas. So creating community and just love and support.
Wow. Now, what role did forgiveness of yourself, your ex-husband, and others play in your own healing?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
What role does forgiveness, or did forgiveness for yourself, your husband, and others play in your own healing?
Forgiveness is about releasing someone from your judgment.
Mm.
Forgiveness is about recognizing that they're going through as best as they can as well. And so it allows me to give space for them just to do what they need to do. Forgiveness doesn't mean I have to agree. Forgiveness doesn't mean I have to open the door and welcome it in. But it does mean I can release myself of the anger and the judgment about the situation.
Hmm. That's so good. Now, you said that your story is most powerful when told with your daughter. What does it mean for the two of you to share the stage together?
Yeah, so that was pretty special. It was not something that we planned, but we have since had conversations now that a bit of time has moved on. But that moment that I was sharing with you was within a retreat space, and she was helping me. And you've got to understand that she went from bracing herself and covering herself up completely and wearing very baggy clothes to teeny weeny bikini and all of her skin showing. And we were doing a retreat space with a spa, and so I knew that the ladies were going to be seeing all of her scars because she got very addicted to self-harm for many years, and they're nasty scars. And so I asked her if it's okay that we just shared straight up about the scars, so that everybody knows they're not going to be side looking at you and wondering what happened. We'll just clear it, lay it all out on the table. And so we did that. She was a bit nervous, but said okay. And I shared what it was like as a mother, seeing your daughter hurt her body in such a way.
Yeah.
And, you know, the pain that I went through, nearly losing her so many times. And then I turned to Eve and I said, all right, well, I've gone quite deep with your story or with my story about you. What about you share something about me?
Right.
And she said, the thing that will always stand out in my mind is I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my mum.
Oh, that's
There was
beautiful.
so I think we've become so very deeply connected through this process, and to be able to tell the story together for other parents to hear that it is dark and it is scary and it's terrifying, but there's others out there going through the same thing. We just don't talk about it. And then to hear the story of someone who's walked through it and come out the other end, thanking God that she never followed through with the hormone treatment.
Yeah.
You know, that gives hope. But I always like to say, and she says as well, that even if you do follow through with the hormone treatment, that I'm sure if that had have happened, we would have still come out the other end as mother and son and had a strong bond. We would have worked our way through that. But as it was, I wasn't asked to.
Yeah, the love was so strong. It carried both of you through that challenging time. So what was the biggest misconceptions about parents of children facing gender dysmorphia?
Oh, Lord, I don't know that I have an answer for that, Gertrude. I think that I think as soon as you try to say the biggest problem is ... you're already putting your own judgment in that space. I think everybody's going to have some kind of mountain that they have to climb. For me, it was the grief and the anger, and I think that it's fairly common. And the lack of space to land for parents, the lack of compassion as a society that we hold today. But I also think that you've got to be aware of, because our voices are so squashed around this issue, actually being brave enough to say it and to actually to acknowledge the truth of what's really happening for you. That's probably one of the other issues I think that faces many people. But again, this is a conversation I'm just starting publicly. There's only been a handful of people really that have known intimately what's happened in our family. So this is massive to step out like this. And maybe I'll discover things that I'm totally unaware of. I'm sure I will.
Yeah, with time. So let's finish off with two last questions. They're a bit of a thought experiment. In the first one, I will teleport you back to that young woman who was faced with this crisis. If you could go back and give her 3 nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would those 3 nuggets of wisdom be? What would you have wanted somebody to have told you then?
Wow. Probably that I'm braver. You're braver than you think. I would have wanted myself to know there was hope. There's hope. You're actually going to get through this one way or the other. You're going to collect the tools along the way. In fact, I've laid a trail for you with all the tools that you're going to need along the way. And it's okay to pick them up one by one. If I gave them to you all at once, you wouldn't know what to do with them. So just trust the journey. Trust the journey and find those people fast. There's just a couple of them. That's all you need. Just stop looking for what's there and go find what is. And keep loving, because that's the thing that's going to see you through the most.
I love that. Yeah, you keep going back to love. The love of your child, whether they pick a gender or they don't, that never goes away. Last question is futuristic, and I'm going to teleport you to go and meet the 90-year-old you now.
Oh, my
This
goodness.
incredible woman who not only helped her daughter, supported her, showed her how much she was loved, and got her to see herself for who she really was. And the woman who helped thousands of families by sharing her story, creating programs to support those who are going through these challenging times. Now, this 90-year-old woman is sitting in her rocking chair. Maybe she's on a dance floor, dancing with her grandchildren or great-grandchildren. If you could teleport into the future, what would you say to this wise woman when you finally meet her?
I love that image. I've actually got an image of myself as a really vibrant, happy, fully alive 90-year-old who's released all of the anguish, all of the stresses from the past because she found a way through and she's fully in her power. And so I would just want to embrace her and hold on to her and be sitting at her feet asking her to share the wisdom with me now so I can get there faster. Let's do that at 60.
I absolutely love it. And I'll tell you the reason why I like to ask women this question. It's because a lot of women don't even realize that the wise woman is already in them, that she is that quiet voice that guides us, the quiet voice that told you that there is only love and nothing else. And if you poured that into your daughter, you would get to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's a matter of us going within, tapping into the energy of who we are becoming, so that you can create a future that is beautiful. And thank you for being an example of that.
My pleasure. Gertrude, thank you so much for letting me share. It's been a real honor and a privilege. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody who tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We're a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share these stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Andrea, thanks again for the interview.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Bye for now, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story. Thank you so much.